Good morning, cadets. My name is Cadet First Lieutenant Francisco, and today I'll be teaching you how to make a proper bun for RUHS MCJROTC. I'll first be talking about the materials, so please skip to the timestamp below if you'd like to see how to make the bun. Let's get started. Before you start working on your hair, you're going to need to gather most of, if not all, of the following supplies. The first thing you're definitely going to need is hair gel, which a lot of cadets will strongly recommend Gorilla Snot. But I also recommend having a slightly less strong hair gel so that your hair is more malleable while you're working with it. This yellow Gorilla Snot, I think the strength is 10. I recommend more for a finish when your hair is already where you want it and you want it to stay extremely strong. This will not let you work with your hair once you've already put it in. The second thing you must have, if your hair isn't too long for it, is a sock bun, which you can buy these at any dollar store in sort of a mesh form. But to keep the stiffness of it and to keep it from squishing on your head or moving around while you're working with it, I recommend wrapping 1 or 2 socks around it by cutting the toes off and rolling it through. The third thing you should have for doing your hair for ROTC is, of course, a hairbrush. I recommend 1 hairbrush for detangling and 1 for smoothing out your hair as you're styling it. The one kind of brush that I would not recommend is any brush that has little balls on the tips of the bristles, because these can tear through your hair and you don't want to damage your hair because you'll be doing it almost every week. So I recommend using a brush that doesn't have little balls like this for detangling. The fourth thing I would recommend having for your hair is hair ties. So you definitely want to have a hair tie that matches your hair color closely, at least. As someone who used to have 3 feet of very thick curly hair, I recommend having 4 hair ties. 2 to secure the ponytail, and 2 to secure the bun once the ponytail is already in. So because I'm a brunette, I would definitely not have a blonde hair tie. For anyone, I don't recommend any colorful hair ties because there's a chance they can show through. These types of hair ties with the small metal bar are kind of hard to work with, and they usually don't expand enough, so I don't recommend those. And small hair ties like this that are very thin aren't very strong either, so I would definitely not recommend these. So these are the 4 types of hair ties that I would say please don't use them at all. Definitely get something that's your hair color, decently thick, and somewhat stretchy. The last thing you might need when doing your hair is bobby pins. This is somewhat optional because if you have a strong enough hair gel when you do a wrap around your bun, then your hair might not even move and hairs might not even hang, and you won't have to secure it with a bobby pin. Usually for me, I only use bobby pins to secure stray hairs after the fact, but otherwise I don't need them at all. I recommend them if you decide to use a braid to wrap around your bun, or if you have a lot of loose hairs, like layers. But if you do use bobby pins, please get them in your hair color. Now, to get started on the actual bun itself, you're going to brush out your hair with your detangling brush, and then put it up into a ponytail. You're not going to want your ponytail to be too high or too low. If it's too high, then it'll hit the bottom of your cover, and if it's too low, it'll touch your collar. So remember that you want it to be right in between.
Smoke clears when you're out. Won't you stay with me, my darling?
this point, once you're happy with the shape of your ponytail itself, use gel to smooth down everything. And if you're fine with the way that it looks, I recommend using Gorilla Snot to keep any stray hairs from coming out. And here is what your finished ponytail should look like. Now that you have your ponytail done, you're going to take your bun sock and push your ponytail through the bun sock. For me, I prefer to use a hair tie to keep all of the hair together. So I'll tie my hair sort of maybe an inch or two away from the base of the ponytail, and then pull the hair tie through my bun sock. Now that you've pulled your ponytail through the sock, you're going to split the ponytail and push the hair so that it covers the sock evenly in every direction. You don't want any holes, and you don't want to be able to see the sock from any point. I recommend using a brush and, of course, gel to kind of push it in the right direction, and it should take a while for you to feel around with your hands to make sure that none of the sock is being exposed. After you're done smoothing out the hair that covers the sock, take a hair tie and pull it over the hairs so that it makes the bun shape. Always continue to smooth out the bun even after you've put on the first hair tie. And remember to check for holes. Now you're going to add a second hair tie, which for me personally I recommend doubling it. So get a loose enough hair tie that it will double. This is how the bun itself should look when you're done. Now that you're finished with the bun itself, it's going to be rather difficult to see in the video, but you're going to split your hair into small sections that you can grab with just your fingers. Make sure that they're not too thick or anything like that, because you're going to be wrapping these individually around the base of the bun. I recommend using gel to separate them, and there should be about 8, depending on the thickness of your hair. But they should look sort of like little tentacles, if that's understandable.
Dear Mr. Thoughtless, there's some things you shouldn't say, for the judge can hear you and soon will be the day. Well, he'll bring the words you spoke and lay them at your feet.
At this point, you're going to take each tentacle one by one and wrap it around the base of the bun underneath every other strand. Personally, I prefer to do this clockwise, and depending on whatever direction you do it in, you're going to want to choose each tentacle one by one in the opposite direction. For example, since I am twisting them all clockwise, I should choose them all counterclockwise. So I would do the one on the very right of my head first, then the one to the left of that, and then to the left of that, going counterclockwise. I did not do that in this video, and I forgot about that, but it was harder to smooth down the wrap afterwards because I made this mistake. So in the future I'm going to change that, and I recommend doing the same.
There's some late breaking news I know you like to hear, but the papers won't print it and the TVs just won't air.
Now that you're done wrapping all of the tentacles around the bun, all you're going to do is take a lot of time to make sure that the wrap is entirely smooth. Make sure that even though you're going to be smoothing it at this point, that during the process of wrapping all of the strands, you should be smoothing it throughout. And this is what the back of your bun should look like when you're done. Hello again. At this point you should be finished with your bun, but be sure to check that it's all smooth on both sides, or talk to a family member or a friend or anything for them to help you get rid of flyaways. That's all for today. Have a great Marine Corps Day, cadets.